Greetings. Welcome to Professor Bland's quick intro on draw.io. Now you're probably asking yourself, what is motivating this? Why do you care about draw.io? Well, because I care about the fact that submitted reports and pre-labs in my class are not allowed to contain hand-drawn diagrams of any kind, especially block or schematic, photos of diagrams, screen captures of diagrams from other documents, diagrams and math annotated or created with freehand on a tablet. I'm not accepting any of it. And the reason for this is to have you learn how to produce clean and professional documentation. Your employers are going to require this. This is what you will do. So this is the time and place for you to be learning it now. Now, I don't care which package you use. There's a lot of good ones out there. So if you're already comfortable with using one, that's terrific. You keep doing it, produce that great looking output, include that in your reports, and everything will go just fine. But I'm going to introduce you to a very good free one. A lot of people don't have any idea where to start. Draw.io is a real good program to use. So what is it? It's a strongly featured diagramming software package. It's not just schematics and block diagrams. You can use it on a web page or you can download the desktop version. In any case, it is free and there are no ads anywhere. In fact, there are versions for Windows, Mac, and Linux if you're going to use the desktop version. And it supports cloud connectivity to a variety of services. You can also produce a whole lot of different diagrams. Take a look at this list. Project planning, floor plans, software design, infrastructure diagrams, math equation editor. That's one of them that we're going to use a lot here, as well as schematic diagrams. In short, you need to learn this tool, and it's going to help you at Cal Poly and at your work after you graduate. For more information, you can go to drawio.com in general, but you can find this link right here, Getting Started with Diagram Types. And that's a great page to get started. You'll find these slides on Canvas so you can get to this information again after the video. So what are we going to cover in the video? The functionality you will use and need in class, and that's schematic diagrams and math typesetting. I'm going to provide you with links to the program and to other helpful resources. So when you go to drawio.com, it actually presents you with a landing page that asks you, do you want to start with the web-based tool? If you click the Start button, that's where it's going to take you. It'll also let you use cloud services at that point. Or you can use the download button, which takes you to the page to download the desktop client. In either case, you don't need an account. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to give it your email. You can download the file that you need for the operating system you have and just get on with using the program. There is a YouTube channel for draw.io. You should look it up. There's the link to get to it right there. Terrific source of tutorial information on all facets of the program. It is really worth your while to at least peruse it and see what's there. I'm going to give you some specific links to some videos that I think will be helpful in the context of what we're trying to use it here. Here are those links. You can see most of them are YouTube. There's one for Draw.io on math typesetting, and also the ASCII math site for getting started. And I'll show you that here just as we go on through. So let's take a look at the program and start our own diagram. So I've got the desktop version started here, and let's do this. Let's go to File, New. Now, for some reason, it insists on putting this over on my other screen. We're going to say create a new diagram. And it gives you this huge list of various types of diagrams that it will support. In this case, we're going to go to engineering. And I know this Kirchhoff current diagram is really tempting, but we're going to do the schematic. Let's just do that one right there. So we're going to select the schematic and we're going to say create. Gives us this diagram. Let me make our life a little easier here. And I'm going to say fit page to zoom this up a little larger. So now you can see there's a whole lot of stuff going on this page. I'm going to make this sample schematic go away. Now I'm going to give you a kind of a tour of what you see on the screen here before we get into actually making a diagram. Nothing really surprising up here with the usual set of toolbars. Not going to spend a lot of time on this. You're already familiar with such things. Here's the search bar, the scratch pad, which is going to get some discussion here in a minute, and then these various classifications of symbols. Yeah, the electrical ones should be very interesting to you. This particular set of symbols comes up because we selected a new diagram that is a schematic. So it customized all these for us to give us this option. Pretty handy, pretty easy. Over here on this side, as we select various items, we have properties for that, for the diagram and for the individual item that we're working with here. Look at this. I got one extra thing here. I don't want that. Oh, it's going to leave that there. Okay, it's a waypoint. All right, do what you want to do. So let's build a schematic. Now, we're going to need, for starters, a resistor. Now, rather than search through all of these categories here, I'm just going to type in the word resistor. And there it pops up the resistors for me. And you can see there's various types of them here. So I'm going to click. I am not dragging. I have clicked. And there it is. You can see right here by my cursor, this circle. This is how you rotate the object. And then you notice as we mouse over it, I get these 4 arrows. So now I can move this around here. I can go over here. I click on this again and I get another resistor. I'm going to rotate it. You can see the lines hop up, and let's say I want to connect them together. Well, I can do that. I don't want to resize it. I get this arrow, and it drags it up and connects it. Now you notice I got an arrow out of the deal. Well, I don't want an arrow. So now I'm going to select this line segment that I just created, and I'm going to go over here to the right-hand side. And on one end of the arrow, the line start. There's no symbol on its end. This is the line end, and it's showing an arrow. So if I say no line end, now you notice that arrow went away. Let me select that again. And oh, 4 is too much. Let's go down to 2 points on the line, but you even notice the line is wider than the line for the parts. So I can select all of that. And I can select 2, and now my entire line is bolder and a lot easier to follow. Now you might think that searching around like this for the parts gets a little tedious, and especially if you're going to be using a lot of parts frequently. So what you can do is you can grab a part and drag it into this scratch pad. This is a place where you can put a collection of parts that you're using frequently without having to go into the libraries to find them. You only have to find them once. But the neat thing about this, click on this pencil, we can edit the scratch pad. And here we can remove the part. But even cooler is this import function. So we can say import, and you notice it's going to my G drive. I told you this supported cloud services, and you see this thing here, scratchpad.xml. This is a scratch pad that I have already saved. So I'm going to click open, and it has brought in a bunch of parts that I routinely use in my drawings. I'm going to save that. And so now I don't need to keep that search window open anymore. I've got this collection. I've got the title. So for example, I could grab the title, select this down here, move it over, double click on list and say Chuck Bland schematic. And I can put in today's date. Whoops. Version 1. my class. So now I have a title block that I've put in down there. So let's think a little bit more about this diagram. Let's say that I want an op amp. So click on that, bring that in. And let's say that I need to do a connection between this op amp and this set of resistors here. So I'm going to go here. This is called a waypoint. And it appears over here. So I'm going to drag it onto those resistors. See, there's that arrow again. This is going to let me connect to some place. And see the little green dot that appeared? That means I have connected there. So I'm going to let go. Now I've still got that arrow, and that's annoying. So let's go over to here and not only change that to none, so that won't happen anymore. Let's also change this to 2 points so our line is the same width. But then let's say set default style. Now we shouldn't have to do that anymore. So from this point, I can bring in all kinds of other shapes, other types of connectors. Here's FETs, junction transistors. Here's a light sensitive resistor, capacitors, inductors, all kinds of things. Here's your ground. Here's a power supply, battery. Here's just a generic title. This little tiny thing here is text. I bring that in, and now I have a text box. This is my text. And I can drag this around. I can also, I don't want to do that. If I hold down Shift, I can adjust in smaller increments. Also, Control lets me move some things around. Control Z, I don't want to mess that up. You can also use the arrow keys to position things a little tighter. You can see over here on the right-hand side, I've got properties for the text there. I can bold it. I can make the size larger. All those things here, just like working around in a word processor. So if we kind of skip over all the details here, let's go to a finished diagram that I have. So here's my light sensitive resistor. Here's a light level pot. I've added some text fields, as you can see, to identify voltages, and I label the functionality of the pots that are here. Here's my power supply. I'm going to show it as a battery. Here's the title. Nice, clean schematic. There are a number of ways that you can then include this in your document. You can export this as you like, bring it into your document, and then crop out the excess areas. It would also be acceptable. Now I know I said no screen capture of existing diagrams, but that means from like your procedure file, there is nothing wrong with this schematic, and you do the usual Windows Shift S to go into capture mode. Select the diagram, and now it's put it in the clipboard where then you can paste it into a diagram. That would be acceptable. That's the only copy and paste that is acceptable from a diagram that you originally freshly drew. All right, once we've finished with this, I'm going to go back to the other diagram here, even though it's incomplete, but I can say File, and I'm going to say Save because it hasn't been saved. You can see unsaved changes here. We're going to say Save. Now, my computer happens to be already configured for talking to the Google Drive. This would also apply to OneDrive, anywhere else you'd want to put it. And you can say Demo Diagram. and it's saving it as an XML, which is a draw.io format. Say save, and now the diagram is saved for reuse later. In the same way, if we close this, I could say File, Open. I can open the diagram that way. I can say File, Open Recent, and I can open the diagram that way without having to browse to it if I happen to be in another folder. Now the last thing I want to get into here is, well, come on, let go. There we go. Talked about math. So if I go over here to this drawing, you can see I've got a couple of resistor networks here that I was doing some analysis on, and you see all this stuff over here looks like a little bit of gibberish. Well, it looks like a lot of gibberish. This is actually our math, but a way that we can make it make sense is if we go up here to extras and we say mathematical typesetting. And when I enable that, now you will see this nice, pretty math. So let me turn that off again just for a moment. This is called ASCII math, all one word. I mentioned it earlier. Let me hop over to my web browser just for a moment to show you some things that you would like to know. Under the facts, there is a FAQ for using mathematical typesetting, and it goes into detail. There is a lot more that I'm going to show you that this will do, and this is where you can find all of it out. But you'll notice early on in the diagram, in the help file, it talks about ASCII math. If you click on that link, it takes you to the intmath.com page for entering ASCII math in a web page. But this all applies to what you're doing in Draw.io. So the items, all that gibberish that you see on the screen is done by using ASCII representation. So what do I mean by that? You're going to see a lot of stuff here, and you'll need to survey through all of this because this tells you the various words that can be used to create things like the Greek letters, gamma, rho, a lot of related symbols that you're going to use, miscellaneous symbols here. This is all pretty self-explanatory, but the most helpful thing you're going to find is down here at the bottom. It's this table right here, which gives you examples. If you type this, you get this. So for example, x up arrow 2 that you see right here produces this x squared. Then you have a plus sign, and then you've got a y_1 that you type, which produces y sub 1. And you can also combine z with the subscript of 3, 4 and the upper script of 1, 2. As you see here, here's how you can create all these math equations, division symbols, fractions, different ways of formatting them, square roots. It's all here showing you how to create that. So when you see this stuff, that is interpreted when you tell it mathematic typesetting into this. So now in the case of my diagram, I've represented I1, I2, and I3, and I have my relationship here. I1 equals I2 plus I3. I1 is going to be V1 over R2. V1 over R2, that's I1. I2 is going to be Vs minus V1 over R1. Are you seeing the Ohm's law here, folks? Here's how it all works. Concise, clear. It is easy to read. It is easy to understand. And even more important to you and I, it is easy to grade. So this package, Draw.io, makes this very easy to do. So get familiar with it, learn how to use it. You should come up to speed on it pretty quick, and it should help you a great deal in creating professional looking reports that will enhance your ability to communicate and get you a better grade on your report.